I think it said Phoenix, didn't it? Lawyer. Questions. They said a good. November 3rd, December 1st. I think December 1st. I think it's December 1st.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. We're going to begin our meeting tonight with our invocation by Councilman Chris Gill. Please stand.
Lord, as we come to you tonight, God, and we're gathered here tonight for the business of the city, I ask for this council, for your guidance, your wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting and conduct the business of our great city. God, help us engage in a meaningful discussion, allow us to grow close as a group, as a body, and let's make the best decisions for our community. God, I ask that you fill us tonight with your wisdom as we make those decisions that affect everyone around us. Lord, let us be reminded that everything that we do here tonight and all that we accomplish, that it first be pleasing to you and then for the greater good of our city. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I now call the order of this city council meeting, Oak Hill, West Virginia, October 14th, 2024. We'll now have our roll call.
Mayor Charles Briscoe.
Here.
Council at Large Bill Hannibal.
Here.
Councilman from Ward 1, Terry Van Buskirk.
Here.
Roger Evans.
Here.
Diana Janey. Here. Councilors from Ward 2, Tim Briskus.
Here.
PJ Elder.
Here.
Chris Gill.
Here.
Thank you. Now have our reading and approval of minutes. You all, I'm sure, have read the minutes. We can get a motion to approve, accept those minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Maybe in a second.
I second them.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is carried. Sure you've all read the treasurer's report as well. Can we get a motion to accept?
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion to table that because
Okay.
we did not receive the financial report till very last minute, and I know I have not read it.
Okay. All right.
I second it.
All right. We have a motion and a second to table the treasurer's report. All those in favor? All opposed? All right. Motion is carried. Thank you. Any correspondence today? Oh, okay. I did get a letter from Montgomery about the Christmas parade. I'll share that with you on the email because we all want to participate in that. Any citizens' comments? We have anybody sign up tonight?
Yes.
What's your name, ma'am?
Patricia Casto.
Would you come on up?
I can't stand well. I have sciatic nerve problems. I'm sorry. There's a couple things I want to address this evening. The first one being I did educate myself about retention ponds since I was at the August meeting. And the retention pond that they built is very impressive. I just have a couple questions about it. That seems to be a low spot that was created when the 4-lane was built. So what was the rationale after over 50 years for building a retention pond there? We had a lot of flooding on Euler Avenue. You're talking about the retention pond?
Yes.
Off of 19?
Yes.
Okay. There was a lot of flooding there on Euler Avenue, and that helps hold that water back, and it has tremendously helped flooding in that area.
My other question about it is, I couldn't really tell if it's on city, county, state, or private property.
It's on the property, the church owns that property.
So why did the city pay for the construction of it?
Because it helped our city. We have an agreement with the church to have the pond there.
Okay.
My next comment is, who is the Director of Public Works for the city?
Charlie Pennell.
Who?
Charlie Pennell, he's.
Thank you. And the GIS Director? Yeah, I looked up the meanings of GIS because I didn't know what that was. But anyhow, and my last thing I want to comment about, when I was here in August, I asked that you have the mailboxes across from my driveway removed out of the right of way. I didn't ask special treatment. I only asked that you people enforce the laws, codes, and ordinances of this municipality equitably among all of the citizens, as opposed to unilaterally, as you have a history of doing. And apparently, you couldn't be bothered. In my opinion, that makes each and every one of you, be you elected, hired, or appointed, guilty of dereliction. Those mailboxes are 19 feet out into the right of way. If I park my car curbside to my property, that whole end of the street's going to be blocked because of those mailboxes. Do you intend to do anything about that?
I drove on your street after the last meeting, and I researched it. That's the state right of way. I know you disagree with that, or you did last month.
I currently have a map on its way from the State Department of Highways that will define that.
If it's correct, it will show that that is a state.
Well, I'm certain that the
Right.
state knows what their responsibilities are. So, and in as much as I feel that you're all guilty of dereliction of duty, I would have went away. You wouldn't have heard from me again. But now I'm going to start educating the public about their city.
Would you let them know that you're talking about a state right of way instead of a city right of way?
Once I get the map from the state, I certainly will. Because Lori Thomas assured me that no part of Central Avenue appears on the state map. So we apparently do disagree with that. And if my address is on Shutt Street, why is my address Central Avenue? Why is my response site, if I call 911, on Central Avenue?
I don't know that, but I do know the mailboxes are on the state right of way.
Okay. We'll see. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any other citizens' comments? We have a Breast Cancer Awareness Month proclamation, which I will read from here so you don't have to lie. Whereas 1 in 8 women will receive a breast cancer diagnosis in her lifetime. Whereas the American Cancer Society states breast cancer is the most common cancer diagnosed among women in the United States and is the second leading cause of cancer death among women. Whereas breast cancer death rates have dropped 44% since 1989 due to the treatment and detection advances. Whereas early detection is the path to survival of breast cancer, awareness and symptoms, detection methods, and ongoing care assist in positive outcomes. Whereas New River Health staff, board of directors, patients, and community partners continue to raise awareness and direct patients to options for care. Now, therefore, I, Charles Briscoe, do hereby proclaim October 2024 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we're going to paint our town pink and our town's park pink. In addition, Oak Hill, West Virginia will observe this to all of our citizens. Thank you. Moving down now to our unfinished business, our vacant building registration fees, discussion and decision.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I had, did a lot more research from the last time that we had brought this up. There was some questions about, residents over top of, commercial buildings. I was, actually went through, several municipalities. I even went out of the state to see what their wording and verbiage would be. And it's really something that we don't want to, that we don't really need to put in there. So with that being said, I make a motion that we approve the vacant building registry as written, I mean, as suggested, and go with it from there with the changes that we have.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second that we adopt our vacant construction code. We keeping it as is. All those in favor? I'm sorry. Any question?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Sorry.
Chair, did you have time or did you check with Fayetteville about their vacant?
And they said that they don't even have nothing like that because they ain't got but two.
Wrong. And that's part of my point. Fayetteville, right next to us, is a very nice community. It's thriving. It's a destination for tourists and it's doing well. And they don't have a lot of property, vacant property. And the point is, vacant property, I know nobody wants it. I don't want vacant property in my municipality. But I think it's symptomatic of an economy. And yes, we're improving, but I think vacant property comes out of an economy not hitting on all 8 cylinders. And I know, and I appreciate the fact that we can have honest conversations here, but I'm not sure that an ordinance, a stricter ordinance, we have an ordinance on the books, and I'm not sure that a stricter ordinance require, right off the bat, a registration fee of $200. I don't think that's going to, in the long run, help to rectify our vacant property situation. I mean, that's just my opinion.
And Mr. Ambass, I do appreciate that, but I have asked other municipalities that were actually going through the same situations that we were. And by putting that on, it actually improved. There's one street that was in Princeton that they were having such a problem with that they actually dug real deep in people's pockets. Now that street is actually one of the streets that most businesses want on. So, I mean, I can understand where you're coming from. I really can, but I do believe that this is just something that we might need to do to help our city along. It's not to sit down and dig into the owner's pockets. It's actually to let the owner know that come to see us and see what we can do to help you to feel space. Or help you to get your business up to where it can be filled. It's not something that's supposed to be a penalty. It's supposed to be a help.
And I appreciate the effort you put into this, but I think the $200 registration fee plus the increase, the $400 the next year, and which advances the fees quicker than our current ordinance does.
Well, the current ordinance that we have actually doubles every year. The only thing that's different is that
It starts out
$200 fee at the beginning.
Yeah.
So it all doubles every year.
Yeah.
It passed the ordinance that we have
So
in
it's
place
not
now.
a huge difference. I understand. But I think there's situations where that'll be a real hardship on some residents. And I'm not sympathetic to vacant property. I know it's it's prone to become blighted and all those kind of things. I appreciate that and I recognize that, but I think it's a symptom of your economy versus somebody not wanting to do the right thing. So I don't think I'll support this, and I again appreciate the fact that we can discuss items and not maybe.
Well, I'm just wondering, can we not get with them and see if they are at least trying to put it up for rent? I mean, nothing shows rent on none of the windows. And one business. Should they not have to fix theirs up in order to make it rentable? Maybe a little better, and we can get with the people in the buildings and find out how much they're wanting. And if you're gonna go too crazy, they're not going to rent them. The thing of it is, I think maybe if we can work with them, and maybe they could try to get these rented out and put it out there with Allison or something, so people can see what's available in Oak Hill.
Yeah.
Work from that or whatever. I don't know. I just like to see something happen. Some movement in some way. But they're not gonna be able to come in here and put a whole lot of money in rental in order to make money in Oak Hill for a while. I mean, you have to get started somewhere. If they go work with people that are forward, and maybe up it as they see that they are improving their business. That's what I was thinking.
This ordinance isn't new. I think I'm not sure how we're thinking, but this is something that's been in place for 10 years, close to 10 years. We've not collected on it. We've not for a while. I think we collected very little for the last year. So right now it's obviously not effective. So I think that was the whole idea of trying to come up with something new to initiate, to get people, I get exactly what you're saying, Bill. I agree a lot. There is hardship. There really is. But there's also a lot of people still trying to rent buildings at high rates. I've heard some crazy rent totals here recently, and they say, well, I can't find a way to put in it, but you're talking some crazy numbers too. So I think this kind of makes people a fair chance. I would rather, so let's say I'm renting for $2,000 and I can't get nobody. I'm going to be a little more fair and try to cut my rent down instead of paying a registration fee or something to the city. And maybe it gives somebody a better chance at a cheaper rate to get a space rented. I give somebody a chance to open up something small that couldn't afford a $1,500 or $2,000 rent a month. Maybe the business owner says, well, instead of paying $400 to the city, I'll just rent it out for half the price so I don't have to register and put something in this building. Because if you haven't noticed, we have 87 commercial. Yeah, there's a lot of
Probably about 67 right now.
And it's just empty and there's no progress or there's nothing towards them.
And I know of 3 or 4 residents right now that have been sitting for almost 3 years.
Absolutely.
All they're doing right now is letting other people move in it that ain't paying no rent or nothing else. I'm surprised the houses ain't already been burnt down. I mean, this is what the ordinance is actually for, is to protect the city from these sort of happenings. I think that what we're doing by raising as we have is actually making a statement through the city. We want their help. That's what I think. And without it, we've had one in place, like he said, for almost 10 years, done nothing yet.
It wasn't very effective.
So now let's do something different.
So, but I think charging more money is not going to have a better benefit.
Well,
That's my opinion.
I mean, and I understand that, and I do appreciate your opinion. But the way I'm looking at it is haven't had it effective for 10 years. And now if you don't register, we actually have a way to force that registry. Before there wasn't. There was nothing in this ordinance that sat down and forced that registry. You had 180 days to do it.
You started
Now
out.
you only got 60.
You started out at 45 days.
Well, I didn't see that one. The one that I've looked through was
It was
180.
changed.
I think it did change in 2015 because the actual one was done in 2012. And I think 2015 is whenever y'all went to the 180. I believe that this will be helpful for this city.
I would ask that if you do consider that, you at least have a 90-day period of time for us to implement it. We don't have a system, we don't have a person or a system in place, right?
Well, if we do, we've still got another 30 before we can do anything anyway. And then you're looking at another 30 to 60 before you'd even be able to even try to implement it. So you're still looking at 3 months, 4 months down the road before. Not like it's going to change. Not. It still has to go before a public hearing. It still has to have a second reading. This is just to try to get the ball rolling. I mean, all we're waiting on now is whether or not we're voting to do it or not, because it's already been recommended and seconded. We're just waiting on the vote.
Any other questions? Would you guys repeat your motions for the record, please?
I make a motion that we go ahead and accept the vacant building registry with the updated fees and the updated times.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor? All opposed?
No.
Majority has it. Ayes have it. Motion is adopted. Thank you. All right, number 2 will be the consideration of placement of naloxone distribution containers. One will be placed at Walgreens, from my understanding, already with the health department. So our discussion tonight would be if the city wants to put some on their property, wherever. We still want to do that.
This is something that the health department is paying for this.
There's no cost or anything to us. We don't have to maintain it.
Is there other municipalities that have this?
There are some. I couldn't tell you about them, but there are some statement.
What are the liabilities with that? Say somebody comes up there and there's nothing there, somebody else has it. Should a liability is
us.
that
As they're maintaining all of it. We're just providing locations for us.
is that almost sound that it's not enabling a crime. It's an illegal drug to do that, right? So we're not sending a message that we're saying it's okay to do this. We're giving you a spot that we allow this in city property to do this.
Well, yeah, what it would be, I mean, whoever took the illegal drug would take the naloxone to save them. It's not illegal.
Where's the suggestion to put it?
It's up to you.
Okay.
That's what we're just gonna discuss, whether if you wanted one or not. Well, we wanted one, I believe it's Walgreens.
Out on East End. And out there, it's gonna be one.
It's on their- They're supposed to be placed in, I guess, frequent, where people frequently overdose. You know, where they are in other areas where, I mean, I don't know that we have that, but It's where you buy, you would buy. I don't know if we have any property, but. She.
Yeah, I don't know where that would be, but they frequently overdose. Most of the overdoses that I hear and see come through are residential. It's not on Main Street. My personal opinion is, apparently Walgreens, you said was gonna put one there. I'm sure that you can walk into the hospital and get in the naloxone. You can walk in the police department and get in the naloxone. You can walk in the fire department or any fire truck and get in the naloxone. We keep it in every cruiser.
And not walk in the fire department. Carry that for our personnel only. We do not run EMS first responder.
I'm sorry.
We don't offer it to them. We offer to our people because we had an instance where we had police officers down and a firefighter about to be down because of their exposure to that. So we essentially carry it for our own personnel. We do not advertise it.
I didn't mean to bombard you with anybody coming down there asking for it. Across the street, you can walk in over there and of course. Need it.
A lot of people carry it in cars.
Yeah, they do.
Citizens have it.
Is it something for us to do, or is it something we need to do? Because it sounds like it's available in a lot of places.
I think Paula was just asking for us to be receptive to those containers wherever they may be. I mean, she didn't specifically say that she wanted any on our property. I don't know if she was planning on some, it's different places in the street. I'm not sure.
Just a minute.
Now, how do they get them out of the machines? Just to turn off, or how does that work?
It's just like the blessing boxes that you see. You just open it up and it would be.
Teenage kids get out and play around and think it's not them, if that will hurt them any.
I don't think it does.
Okay.
I believe there is a special way to get in there. I'm not exactly sure, but I don't think you can just open it and do that. I should know more about that.
And I don't know that there are negatives to it. I know a lot of people have them. It's done some good, but I don't know if we are at that point where.
Now it's a nasal spray. So you can, it's basically, just pop it out. Yeah, basically where to get to it. I may be incorrect. This is something you guys can think about, or you can make a decision on it tonight. I think we're covered either way. A lot of citizens have it, and as Chief said, there are places that you can get it, so. Bring this up later, we can.
I mean, is this something that the health department is always doing? Like, let's just say in 6 months, we see that there's a need somewhere, could we say, hey, is that all mentioned to table this?
I'll second that.
All right, motion and second that we table the placement of naloxone distribution containers.
Indefinitely.
Indefinitely table this.
Definitely table. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. Moving on to new business, we will consider changing the date of the November council meeting to November 4th.
Our regular council meeting scheduled for November 11th, which is a holiday that is the city recognizes for its employees.
And that's fabulous. I move that we change the date to November 4th.
I second it. We have a motion and a second that we move our next city council meeting to November 4th instead of November 11th. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. Number 4, LWCF City Park, the straw party deed authorization.
I'm gonna turn this over to Tyler to explain everything that happened with that.
So as you all may be familiar, we've talked about this a number of times. You've authorizing resolutions for us to move forward. This is the $400,000 total project to refurbish the City Park Playground. This is funding that comes from the National Park Service through the State Development Office. So part of the stipulations, and we have discussed this, in fact, you all did vote on this, I believe, in a prior meeting, that part of the stipulations on the receiving of the money is that you then have to put restrictions on your deed for that particular property that states that property will henceforth and forevermore be used for a park, public use space. And so now we're moving forward. We've been awarded that. We're moving through the administrative portion. Before we can proceed to bid and get this project moving, they require that we go ahead and get our deed updated on the front end of the project, which essentially it's just adding the restrictive covenants to the deed. If any of y'all looked at the documents, you'll see our attorneys, we ran this through Bill File and his brother Robert File. They recommended to us that the best, most proper way to do that was by way of a straw party deed to the building commission, rather than just deeding it from ourselves to ourselves. And so their recommendation was that we execute a deed from the city of Oak Hill to the Oak Hill Building Commission. And in that deed is where we actually update the entire description of the property, because we have had a boundary survey that updated our description. And so we're kind of accomplishing two things at once. We're updating our description of the property based on our new boundary survey, and we're adding the restrictions that are required by the Land and Water Conservation Fund project. And so that deed goes to the Oak Hill Building Commission as a straw party, and then immediately gets deeded back to the city of Oak Hill. And then it will be at that point in its final state, back with the city of Oak Hill, updated with the description and with the restrictive covenants on the deed. So the Oak Hill Building Commission has already authorized or approved to act as a straw party and to receive the property and then immediately convey it back to us. That was in their last meeting. And so if council would approve that process as well, then we can go ahead and get with our attorneys and have them execute that and get the appropriate signatures on those deeds. They'll be filed simultaneously. There's no gap in between filing those. So you'll have the straw party deed to the building commission and then back to the city, and they both get recorded consecutively at the courthouse. So there's no time that elapses in between them. So that's what we're asking for authorization to proceed with that straw party deed execution with this item.
And so with this, then we get what we need to finish that.
The playground. So we're prepared. We're working with Thrasher Engineering. They're working on getting our final designs on that playground, which you may recall, we presented this a couple of times to council. This particular project won't replace all of the existing playground equipment, but it does add that section of ADA accessible equipment. And it will also go in and regrade, put in some drainage, and then fill the rest of the playground with the engineered wood fiber mulch. So basically, it's going to give the remaining part of the playground a facelift and add the accessibility. There's also some sidewalk bordering the playground that gets added in addition to the sidewalk that was just installed as part of the current project, and some site furnishings. There's some benches with some shade canopies over top of them, a couple of picnic tables. So that's kind of the summary of the project. But this is the first step, aside from some other administrative paperwork we've had to do. We can't move forward. They will not authorize us to move forward to advertise for bids for contractors until we get this done. So I think they've had situations in the past where they have authorized the recipient to proceed, and then they never got the restrictive covenants done. So their policy is to get the deed covenants in place before they authorize proceeding with the construction on the project.
So there's no cost to the city, correct?
What it's the only cost to the city would be what we pay the attorneys. I mean, there's no other kind of
Legal
fees. Yeah, it's just legal preparation for the deed preparation, and then of course the filing fees. That you have to file the deeds at the county clerk's office.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I'd like to make that motion then that we honor that straw party deed authorization to get this moving done.
I second it. All right, we have a motion and a second considering approval of the straw party deed authorization. Any other questions? All in favor? All opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you, Tyler. 5, consider approving the planning commission's recommendation to change the zoning from R2 to RR of 2 parcels of land located behind 335 Woodbridge Road.
The owners of this property are David and Sherry Kidd, and they are both here tonight. If you have questions for them, they're asking to have their property changed, 2 parcels of the property to be changed from R1 to RR, R2 to RR, excuse me. This will allow them to have some small animals on the property, and as you can see from the map, it already adjoins our property. Property on behind it is RR.
Advertised, as anybody who needs to.
No, we had, someone came and spoke in favor of that. No one's.
But it does meet the size requirement with the adjoining parcel.
Yes.
Are you familiar, city manager, with the definition for RR, where it's like, I believe 5 acres? Would that be satisfied if it adjoins RR? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
What kind of animals were looking?
Well,
Small animals like
Farming?
small ones like goats, like that. And the properties behind us, they actually do have farm animals there. On the property right behind us, and then the Wildwood property beside of them is RR as well. Because they've also had goats. There are no houses behind where that area is. Where we're trying to get it, it's all wooded area.
Other residents in that area has.
They have already been notified, yes, and they were notified by letter from the city and they agreed with it.
Chris, y'all approved this to happen?
I wasn't at that meeting. I'm sorry, so I can't speak. That's why I asked the question, because I was not at that meeting, so I don't know what the recommendation.
it was unanimous. I was at the meeting.
Well, I personally, I don't see why there would be an issue if it's already setting against an RR. It's not like it's spot zoning. You're changing the whole thing to an RR. So me personally, I make a motion that we approve it.
I'll second.
A motion and a second to approve the rezoning. All those in favor?
Mr. Bragg, could you pull up the definition of the RR? And excuse me, I didn't want to make sure. On our eyes and cross our T's.
acres.
Does that meet that?
We have total 2.5 acres between all 4 lots. So not 4 lots.
And we only asked for the back two, not where the house was. But if you combined it all together, we would have that. We own that much,
Splits lots 9 and 10. So
those two.
older neighbors, which were notified, didn't have no problem. The back 2 lots are wooded, steep, and uninhabitable.
Which was that one?
It doesn't say in parcel information, this one approximates at about 45 acres, which is a little under half acres.
The other one.
It's going to be close, right here.
So those 5. What was the other 2?
Yeah, the 2 homes.
Yeah.
55. 6, that's the parcel.
We were approached by our other neighbors to do this.
The other residents have had little farm animals. Not bad.
Right, yes, and all those across the street from where ours is, the Livelies, Mike Lively was here, spoke for us, and then the Rains, which is a little bit behind it, they do have a farm back there. They have big animals.
I think that's out of the city limits. Right.
He had to,
He had to have his rezoned as well.
we don't
But
have,
for farm and farm animals, it requires more. It's like, I think it's 5 acres. The farm animals.
It says animal husbandry in our R. That's what.
That's what we were just looking at. It says 2. The minimum lot width has to be at least 200 feet.
I'm underpaid right there where it talks about minimum 2 acres. That could include the adjoining or
I think. Because it says the minimum area. But I don't.
I don't know.
I think the adjoining RR is not small, and it satisfies their something.
I was thinking.
The thing I said about what I meant was about like the farm. You talking about putting together something, I don't know that you could bring in like cattle and horses. Because you mentioned like something later on, you couldn't bring in like cattle or horses because under farm definition, it is a 5 acre minimum. So that wouldn't qualify for like throwing a barn up and putting cattle and putting a head of cattle in there or something. That it wouldn't meet that.
no plans of whatsoever of that.
Well, the reason why I think they state 5 acres, because for one cow, it's actually a minimum of 1.5 acres. You, and everything you want to try to do is impaired. You would have to have at least 5. Horses are 2, 2.5.
Like I said, we were just approached by our neighbors to consider this, and
Better to do it right. Sir.
Any other questions? Diana, you want to maybe?
I made the motion to go ahead and change it to the RR.
You get a second?
I said,
All right, all those in favor? All opposed? Motion is carried. Number 6, to consider approving the planning commission's recommendation to select AECOM as the consulting firm for our comprehensive plan.
The planning commission had received we had 3 proposals. One was from AECOM, one was from Housel Levine, and the other one was from WVU. And Allison had met with a person from WVU at the extension office. They went over in depth, they went over each proposal, and this planning commission recommends AECOM to be selected.
Do you know the rationale?
It just was a more robust plan.
Should be, because it costs over
Right.
100,000 more.
Yes, but WU is only doing the comp. They're gonna check the boxes of what needs to be done. AECOM and Housel Levine both have, and WU did add in some other things, but it is something to help the area, to help fix the zoning issues that we have with things being in the wrong zone and some of that. To give a guidance to how to go along in the future. And this is money we got from the county, $150,000.
Can you put up those, Tyler, those prices so everyone can see what we need?
where is this state from?
They're out of Pittsburgh, I believe.
All the way down to the
That's down
bottom.
the very
It's
bottom.
right there.
Is it right here? So they are $149,600.
Yeah. And with that one that they're suggesting, what is the difference? Because I was reading the one from WVU Law. It's doing the zoning and the comprehensive plan. So, I mean, I'm kind of like Bill, what's the extra that's costing us another close to $100,000 is
Just-
what I'm looking at.
Just to help with the guidance and setting up a plan for the future. I mean, your comprehensive plan has to be something that you can live by and look at, and when you're making a decision like you made tonight with the planning commission, you go to that plan, you go to your comprehensive plan. Is that what we wanted? Is that what came out of the public hearings? I don't know how many public hearings WU had. I can't remember what they had.
The one from WVU was, they were doing a lot of if you looked at it, you see where they were doing a lot of the municipalities around us too.
Yeah, they're actually doing Lewisburg, Montgomery, Anstead, Fayetteville, Golly Bridge.
So I would tend to think that they would have a better grasp on the area of the needs of this area and what Southern West Virginia, their WVU, more local and the laws of West Virginia.
They're more law oriented. You're not gonna get, I mean, it's whatever you don't want, but you're not gonna get any extras. You're gonna get exactly a comp plan that will exactly meet the definitions of state.
Was this AECom? Were they aware that we had 150,000?
I
It kind of
didn't work with.
just kind of sounds like it.
Well, we had to ask them to come back once we were approved for the money. We did ask them to add more into it. We asked everybody to add more into it.
Talking close to 90,000, maybe different. And if you look at the AECom, it seems like a lot of that is just like a lot of fluff, extra economic stuff. It's like we're paying a second person to help with economic development stuff.
And slide that down a little bit so we can see everything that's being done in phase 2 and phase 1, if you will. Good. See. So that's phase 2. There. Plan. I did it. Phase 2, please.
That's
Who did we previously use? Who was our last comp plan?
That's sword from, Gordonsville.
Gotcha. Have we ever used like WVU? No.
Did the WB Law Clinic, but didn't they initially set up the Fayette County comprehensive plan that it did it for the municipalities within the counties? Wow.
I had heard something like that's the reason why I was.
Yeah,
I thought.
I think they did, and I this is my opinion, but Jesse Richardson was the law professor at WVU. I personally had a lot of respect for him.
Well, I think the only thing that's kind of going through mine is, I'm looking at, I had looked at what they had there, and then I actually got to look through the WVU law, and you're having maybe a couple extra meetings. I just don't see that there's $190,000 worth of difference between the two. I think for me,
It says for like
it's 57.5 if you go with WB law, because if you add the 28.5 and the 29 out phase 1 and phase 2, it all totals out 57.5. But then you got 149.6 for this one. I mean, we're looking at about $90,000 difference.
if you look under just the phase 2 alone under the AECom, it's 82,100. And if you read it, it's touring the city, setting up meetings. That's $82,000. That costs more than the whole West Virginia's deal. I think perfect timing. I think that I don't think we could justify that, even if we getting $150,000 from the county commission. I don't think we just go with it because of that. Allison? We'd like to hear your input.
I apologize. I just got here from my daughter's volleyball game.
We're on AECom for $149,600.
Okay.
That was the planning commission recommendation. We were trying to figure out what was the big perk compared to the 50-some thousand West Virginia clinic.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Whatever it's called, West Virginia law.
Okay. And so you would like me to speak to the differences between the two? Yeah, absolutely. So the difference between the two, part of it is its experience and breadth of capabilities, honestly. So when you look at AECom, the pros to that firm, one of them is going to be the size of the firm, the experience of the firm. They've done like the comp plan for the city of Philadelphia. They had done several. I'm sure when you guys went through the proposal, you saw all the different comprehensive plans that they've done throughout the United States. They've done planning throughout the world. You know, when you look at where we are as a city right now and the potential we have for growth for the future, the difference in the two and how we felt the two were going to handle the city was AECom is coming with a breadth of experience with a whole lot of professionals from a cookie cutter plan. WVU is fantastic at what they do. At the same time, the comparisons in the two, there's you can bet on the plan that would come from WVU is going to be a plan you could read from somewhere else. They're very similar there too. So when it comes to what is uniquely Oak Hill and what will bring us uniquely forward, AECom has the ability to draw on situations that they've seen from other cities in other times and other places. That is unique to that firm compared to any of the other firms that the Planning Commission looked at, or we were able to look at in general. They're honestly, I think they're the best in the United States. Another difference in those is going to be with AECom, we can enter into what's called a master service agreement. So it says $149,600. Once we got the recommendation from the Planning Commission to engage AECom, obviously we did not engage AECom, but we started talking with them in particular a little bit more about it. And one of the things that we looked at, for example, for the vacant property study, we can add that on to something that AECom, as we get funding from other sources, that AECom can help us with. And they have the capability to do that. The other thing that's great about AECom is they also work with the State Department of Highways and the state's metropolitan planning organizations, the MPOs, which are a big channel for funding the state government for West Virginia is using from this point. So we also kind of have that inside of understanding how those other bigger guys that we've got to work with are going to work moving forward just from using AECom. That was the benefits to them. Now, if it's a matter of the total project costs, I don't think it's unreasonable at all for us to go back and say, hey, council was not comfortable with or wasn't clear with the costs and why these mattered. Can you break them down and justify more? And honestly, we're going to be able to handle more of the community engagement part on our end, which means we should be able to divert more funding towards that $150,000 figure.
I just want to make sure, because I read it wrong evidently, that phase 2 and phase 1 under the WVU.
Yeah, two different processes.
I looked at it too quickly. I thought
Go back to that, please.
29,000. So
See, there's there's phase 1 and it's 28.5. And whenever you go down to phase 2, it's another 29.
Still 90,000 is a difference. almost $100,000 difference.
Motion either way, folks.
90,000 is a lot of money. That's a big difference. I mean, to say that from someone like WVU, what they're going to offer to try to justify 90,000 more on what she just said, of, you know, more engaging, more community things, more experience. I can't see that we can justify that. We don't have to go with it, but I'll make a motion to select WVU.
We need a second.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second that we consider BBU as something firm. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion is carried. If you guys don't mind, I'm gonna move MS4 up to the top of our department, which we need to have something to talk about. Since you all most likely have read your department reports, and if the department heads don't have anything to say, to do on that vote at the end of the meetings.
Okay, my, information today is about fall stormwater pollution prevention tip. Breaking leaves onto a stormwater inlet creates more pollution of local streams and waterways. Not only do leaves contribute to stream pollution, they can cause localized flooding in the clogs if they clog storm drains and pipes. Help protect nearby waterways from excess nutrients and never rake leaves into a storm drain. Leaves can be a great source of nutrients for your property, so consider mulching them into fertilizer for your yard or garden. However, a decaying mat of leaves on your lawn can expose it to mold and disease. If your lawn is covered with more than 50% of decaying leaves, consider bagging or composting the leaves rather than mulching.
You have department heads meeting. If we get a vote to accept all the department reports, please, for a motion.
I think to accept all the department reports.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second to accept all department reports. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Council comments?
I have one need to ask. I don't know if it's, Charlie. There's no stop sign at the corner of Lamplighter and Lock Alley. There used to be. Said something. STOH. Now, Chief, this might go your way. On the campus of New River Elementary, there's several parents that have come to me that there's some odd people, strangers, adult men lurking around the campus, and when they call Board of Education said they can't force people to get off the campus, like vagrant seeds. Because these people just have that look that they're not there for a good reason. So, with all the drugs that we have in the community, they're just afraid that the child might be exposed to something. So I don't know much how that works in schools.
Just have to call 911, report a suspicious person. I think that the board education, maybe they don't see them, maybe they're in the classrooms. But either or both of them just need to call 911. Suspicious person. I'm sure.
We reached out to the Board of Education, but they weren't concerned about it.
Well, we're concerned, so 911, suspicious person, they'll be checked out.
Chief Westman, could you review the all-terrain vehicle ordinance any enforcement problems you may have had since that was enacted, and could we put that on the agenda? It has the first time ever, I believe, the sunset falls in it, and we need to start reviewing that for amending that ordinance.
Memory, what's this? Let me see.
The previous council enacted the ordinance, but that on a certain date in some month, I think early in 2025, it come that if it's not amended, then the ordinance dies or goes away. Sunsets on.
And what is that ordinance? What's it called, Bill?
It's the ordinance that pertains to the all-terrain vehicles in Oak Hill.
You had talked to me about that one other time, and I could not for the life of me remember what you said, how that was done just now.
I'm sorry, Mayor. And also, Chief, if you've not just the strict enforcement of it, but and as the chief law enforcement officer in Oak Hill, if you know your opinion, is it good, bad, or indifferent, or?
I think we haven't had very many issues at all with complaints about ATVs, UTVs. We have had a few with maybe motor powered bicycles on the sidewalks. We're trying to address that. But the overall ordinance, I think there are a few aspects of it, maybe a few things that I would suggest changing, but I will look at it and I will speak to some of our officers about that before the next meeting.
And I've fielded some complaints about it too, but generally the complaints I've gotten have been valid, but they were violations of the law.
Right.
It wasn't a problem.
There were probably issues we were having before we even had the ordinance placed into effect. And I think we're always going to have people who violate the law. One comes to mind relatively close. I hear that there's been a problem. I hope we've maybe got it under control. Yeah, we'll look at it before next meeting.
I'd like to thank for the Wilson situation. Wilson, we appreciate your help on that. Chief, thank you for the extra patrols on the High Line. So I've been having phone calls about that, which has been wonderful. Any other announcements?
I just have a comment.
Yes.
I was gonna say, I know we have Dreamus here that is new, that does social media. Is she also gonna be doing like website stuff too?
Yes, she's already done something.
Okay, I'd really like to see Tim Buskus on the council page, because it doesn't look like Tim right now. It doesn't have his name, so Tim did not have, doesn't look like it. So if we could do that, and like social media stuff, I mean, some of the stuff I've seen her do looks very creative, very nice. But I would like to see like our agenda, the announcement of our meeting a lot earlier than a couple hours before the meeting. I think we need to post that the week before as quick as we can, and allow people to see what our agenda is. I know it's posted out front, but I know a lot of people don't come up here and look at the side of the building. Kind of just be a little more transparent with that kind of stuff when we can. But what I have seen so far with Dream is great.
Stevens.
Yeah, and if y'all need anything, I now have a city email. It's just media@oakhillwestvirginia.gov. If y'all have anything that y'all want done,
or y'all have an idea, just send it to me. I am all for help. And as far as it being late, that is my fault. I'm trying to get everybody to go and contact me when there's meetings and stuff like that. So Demita doesn't have to be the referee going and relaying everything. I'm here to help. I'm not here to cause more issues.
Welcome aboard. You're probably gonna need a little makeup for a couple of these foreheads. Talk about that. Any other announcements?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
With the vacant building registry, where we have approved it to go to the second reading, I'd also like to see a workshop kind of help the owners understand what we're here to do and what we're trying to help them with, and that they might even be able to get with Allison and see about trying to get funding to help. Like I said, this is not something I'm going to sit down and use it as a punishment. We're going to use it to try to help. And that's what I feel that we need to do with it. So a workshop for the business owners, I feel, would be a pertinent
With us?
without.
Okay.
Well, and the council too. I mean, the council can be here. They can ask questions or whatever. I mean, I feel that that'd be relevant, and Allison would be able to help them with, she could probably help them with renting, or I know some of the businesses need some repairs that she may be able to help them and guide them in the ways that they can get funding to help with that.
You guys can come up with a agreeable date amongst yourselves and get.
Okay.
Get that set. All right, well, anyone else? Thank you all for coming out tonight. And please keep our code enforcement officer in your prayers, Ben. He was in an accident. He's going to be down for a couple of days.